Before we get into things today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the report that Spotify recently released. It is called the Spotify 2022 Podcast Trends Report. So this just came out, and there's some interesting statistics in there that I thought would be interesting to cover. So let's go through this quickly, and then we'll get into the meat and bones of the show. First things first, podcast listening has skyrocketed, especially in Southern Europe. So in the US, where it's kind of already established, we saw a 33% growth in podcast downloads in 2022. But for example, in the UK, they saw a 52% increase, Germany, 64%. In Spain, they saw 298%. And in France, 379% increase in podcast downloads. So things are picking up on the podcast side. They talk about some demographics. In listeners aged 13 to 17, there was a 49% increase in downloads, 45% increase for listeners aged 55 to 64, and 42% increase in listeners aged 65 and up. So the older folks are getting on the podcast train. The 25 to 54-year-old demographic is still the kind of the top demographic as far as podcast listenership goes. But podcasting is definitely booming. We talked about this too a couple episodes ago. I ran through some stats from an AdLarge advertising report. And across the board, it seems like people are really jumping into the space. So that's great to hear. So it says listeners turn to podcasts in their quest towards physical and mental health. There was a big uptick in downloads for podcasts in the health and fitness and religion and spirituality genres. In France, for example, a 233% increase in downloads for the health and fitness genre podcasts, 232% increase in Italy of downloads for religious and spiritual podcasts. I guess it kind of makes sense too. If you think about everything that the world has been through in the last few years with the pandemic and everything, people are trying to get back on track and handling any mental and physical issues they may have gone through over that time. So I think it makes sense. They talk about where people are listening. So there was a 131% year-over-year growth in time spent listening to podcasts in cars. 83% on smart speakers, 82% on smart TVs. And then they also talk about advertiser spending. So growth in ad spend by advertising category. This is kind of crazy. This is globally. There was a 1,254% increase in B2B ad spend on podcasting, 362% increase in travel and leisure, and 244% increase in medical and pharmaceutical. That one kind of makes sense as well, I guess. And I guess travel and leisure does too, now that things are kind of back online and people are starting to travel again. They put more money there as well. And then finally, they talk about cross-promotion. So these are the most effective cross-promotion categories by conversion rate. There's true crime with a 1.01% conversion rate. And true crime is not for me, but apparently it's a big deal in the podcasting space. So a lot of cross promotion opportunities there. You have 0.8% for comedy and fiction, 0.8% for documentary, and 0.78% for drama. So I'll put a link in the description for this if you want to kind of dig a little bit deeper into some of these stats. Again, just a good indication that podcasting in general is making some big strides, and it seems like it's on the up and up. Good to see. I like that.